as always, thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. Welcome to Casuals of Runeterra, Arcane Recap Episode 9, the final episode of this series. I'm your host, Ryan.
The episode's so crazy that our housekeeping is just, where do we go from
here? With your host, Hetch. That's Hetch talking.
I can't handle it. I can't be contained.
He's going to handle the housekeeping. Listen to us everywhere, anywhere. Visit us at podcastcore.com for all of our info. Follow us on any of the platforms you prefer from that page. Send us any email that, come on, you have something to say, at podcastcore@gmail.com. And then please leave a like, follow, short review / comment. We appreciate it as always. It helps with discoverability, helps get the word out, and it helps people let us know what they think. But the easiest way is to tell a friend to cry in solidarity by listening to the Casuals of Runeterra podcast. Let's
just no words. End of episode.
All right. Thanks as always. Thanks for listening. We'll be back soon.
Take care, everybody.
All right, we're going to get into it. What we're going to do is we're going to run through the beginning of this stuff pretty quickly because the bulk of it is the ending. Obviously, we've worked up to this point so heavily. So let's get into it. We start off immediately where we left off with Jace unintentionally murdering a child, but actually having all of the reality kind of hit him with like a ton of bricks. He's finally been shocked to the point where he's starting to make his own decisions. And he's decided this has gone too far and they need to this has to stop, right? And this kind of comes at the face of Vi, who's like, as we mentioned in our last episode, she's like, what, just one dead kid? The kids have been dying. Thousands of kids have died down here and you guys don't care. And now you care just because you get to see it, type of thing. And she's like, we're just scratched the surface. We have to go deeper into Zahn. And Chase is like, I can't do this. And I'm going to need my gauntlets back.
And like, it is such a tense scene at this point because you're already just like on the edge of your seat emotionally because they do a good job of helping you empathize with Jace. And then it's immediately both of them just posturing up and it's like, okay, here we go. Vi's ganking top lane. Let's see how Jace handles this. But we've got this very tense standoff that just ends with Jace walking away and pretty much just kind of like, you know what, do whatever you want. I don't care anymore. I know I'm out. I can't do this, so I'm out. I've said that it's tense. It sets the tone for the rest of this episode. This whole episode, it does not let off the gas from this point, pretty much. Because from there we just go, like we get them walking away, and then a fast forward in the same scene, and it's Silco kind of assessing the damages there. And then we find out, we get a name of another one of the mob heads, which is one of the female leaders, Rennie. And it turns out that the dead kid that Jace killed is her son. Because, we're not letting off the gas at this point anymore.
Yeah. We just have, and, she's mourning because obviously her children didn't sign up for this type of situation, even though Silco reminds her that, hey, you're a part of it. That means your family's a part. We're all a part of this. We want our independence type thing. And then we move over to Victor, also mourning the whole situation with Sky that we talked about last episode. And to the point where you finally think you'll get this respite of he's going to destroy the Hex Core. And he can't bring himself to do it. He doesn't have, he knows what it means to him. But one interesting thing is we get to see the Hex Core behave sentient. where it's like shirking back from the chair as Victor's about to strike it, and then it strikes him instead.
Like,
mentally.
yeah, I mean, we say mentally, but like,
Well, yeah.
there is. It looks like there's a reaction from it with his leg, which is
Yes.
the only part of his body that has been transmuted by the hex core so far. So it almost is like, what? Wait, what? You're gonna kill me? You're gonna kill me? Well, fine. I'm taking the leg back. Like
Yeah.
it kind of has like that feel to it, and which again just kind of further reinforces the idea that it's becoming sentient. It's
Which is scary.
defending itself. No, that's totally fine. It's totally fine.
There are no movies about this.
And you know what? Victor thinks it's fine too. That's why he has such a look of fear on his face while he's lying on the ground
In a fetal position, crying.
Yeah. So from there we hop over as far as to Mel confronting her mom.
Yeah.
As far as because at this point everyone is aware that Jace went over everyone's head and just attacked this manufacturing plant, and Mel's got some strong words as far as like, this happened because you showed up and you forced it to happen. And one of the quotes I have written down here is that there was that Mel's goals was to protect the city from people like her mom. We knew that Mel always had ulterior motives, that there was something in the background happening, but this clearly just like, I don't think that war was ever her plan.
Yeah.
Mom keeps saying that was the plan all along. The whole fascist state is like, okay, this was the plan all along. She was creating weapons, but we're kind of saying now that like she was truly holding on to a hope that, yeah, if I play all of these cards just right, though, no one has to die. Which, I mean, if you're mass producing terrifying weapons, that's just not how it works. So a little bit of naivety.
Yeah. And her mom also lets her know that, her mom kind of misses who she was. She was more ruthless, and Mel's the reason she's essentially become weak in her own eyes. And these new kind of ways of thinking, it's just like, no, we're brutal. We do it this way. And then she reminds Mel that, she kind of plays a trump card that says, well, you have to do this because the guy your brother screwed is depending on this to broker peace. And if not, then we have targets on our own backs, right? So it's like I like that her mom doesn't immediately cave to this rebelliousness, right? This is more a moment for Mel as a character. And that's pretty neat on how they handled this moment. Because, Jace has some standing up to people to do as well, right? And them being in a relationship of sorts, it's really well put together on how they're coming to these conclusions.
Yeah. And I also like this because it opens the door as far as for later on in Arcane to introduce more Noxus characters.
Yes.
Because if this is connected to whatever's happening with the Medarda clan in Noxus, we don't know who's behind that. It could be a very prominent character in Noxus, or it could be someone new that hasn't been introduced yet. So that it's tying in another region. So that's exciting because more regions means more champions, and we want to see some of our favorite characters come to life.
Yeah, and we'll have some episodes where we kind of go down that rabbit hole of, okay, what do we think would be cool based on what we have, right? But we move on to this cool scene of Victor, which parallels an earlier scene in the earlier episodes of Jace contemplating suicide after he dumps Sky's ashes into one of the rivers there, or river, I say like sewer pipe or whatever. And they kind of have a discussion about, this time it's Jace's turn to save Victor from himself. And Victor makes a comment here which kind of references again back to what Heimer told them early on when they were coming up with these great inventions, right? And he says, in the pursuit of great, we forgot to do good. And that is like, that kind of sums up everything in with a bow on top, which is like, yeah, Heimer told you that.
He was saying it from the beginning.
And he kept saying it.
Even after he got ousted, he's kind of going out the door of just like, remember to do good, guys. And Jace's response to do good was kill a kid. Yeah. So,
take some steps.
Some
take
lessons.
some steps to
I had trouble with algebra. Like some lessons just don't stick.
But we get another one of Hetch's fun scenes, another gangster scene here.
Oh my goodness. This one was so hype too,
Yeah.
because we hop over into Silco's office, and this time Silco again has another meeting he hasn't called for, as Savika brings both Finn and Rennie into his office unannounced. And now we know that like Finn is kind of like uh completing his goals as far as trying to oust Silco. As uh, and they've done a great job as far as constantly showing that Savika is kind of on the fence over who should be the head of this, the organization, or at least
Yeah.
who her loyalty should belong to. And that comes to a head in this scene where Finn basically is like, okay, Silco, you're out. I thought you were the guy, but you're too old now, so you're out, and today's the day you die. And Silco's like, you know what? I knew that. Look, my day's coming. I know it. That's just how this business works. But this whole city was built on loyalty, and I believe in loyalty. And Savika decides to stay loyal. And boy, the way they did this scene was just sick, as far as how she ends up just killing Finn.
Yeah.
And because they, even at the point where she kills Finn, I was like, oh, okay, she sticks with Silco. And then like it cuts, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm not so sure she stuck with Silco. Like they did a great job of just keeping you on the edge of your seat, even when you get the feeling that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
It was
even
so
to the
well done.
point where even Silco's kind of unsure, because after the deed's done, he's still shaking, right? He's trying to mask it in the face of Rennie so that he can be like, hey, go tell your friends what you saw, type thing. Another great, like, all the mobster type scenes have been done very well. Even if they're by the book, it's just they fit very firmly.
Whoever was heading up this part of the stories, like they watched all the same movies I watched. So like, I'm getting all the vibes of like, Godfather, with a little bit of like Goodfellas in there too, where it's just like, not as romanticized and everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm down with this.
Yeah, and then we get some diplomacy. We start to get a lot more diplomacy here, as obviously Jace is like, listen, we're done with the fascism, violent stuff.
Yeah, so we jump over to Silco trying to negotiate peace with Jace, and because the Godfather-esque scene as far as Finn dying, it reveals that what Silco was kind of struggling with on his desk was that he had evidence as to who did the raid. So because he's got a letter, or at least a sheet of paper with the Talus family crest on it, and that leads to them trying to parlay. And again, it still shows like the tension as far as like Silco just like, oh, you showed up into an ambush position and you're unarmed. And so like it's like still very openly like kind of flashbacking to what Vi was saying to the council. He hates you.
Yeah.
Like all of Zahn hates Piltover. There is not going to be peace. And the skinny of this whole parlay is that Jace will give Zahn its freedom, and all he asks for in exchange is the ceasing of production of Shimmer and Jinx.
Yeah.
Like someone has to answer for this. And this is the whole thing that Caitlyn's been working towards too, which is get the bomber. And Jinx is the mad bomber. So that's the deal. That's what's on the table.
Yeah. And then we have some scenes that kind of move us to the meat of the episode, where we get Echo with Heimer, bringing him to the hideout. Heimer is very impressed by this development, like this resistance, little stronghold. But he's also kind of perplexed, because we know Heimer is a very logical person, and Echo, as a young inventor, right, lets him know, sometimes you don't give people what they need. You have to give them what they want, right? So that living has more purpose than just these kind of protocols. And that's a good kind of insight for Heimer, right? It pushes him to start to, like his thought of progress has changed. He still wants progress for Piltover, but it's now more of a holistic view. right?
Yeah, it's introducing the human element,
Yes.
because he is logical to a fault, which drives me batty since he's a magical creature.
Exactly right.
Like, someone hire him a yordle prostitute and just
Stop with the Yordle
I will
prostitute.
never stop with the yordle
It's not the solution to
prostitutes.
the story. The final scene is just a Yordle prostitute solving all the
A
issues.
yordle prostitute is going to bring peace to Piltover and Zon. I'm calling it now.
So then we get a shot of Silco at a statue of Vander, which was erected, which is cool. And he's kind of talking to him, about like this isn't how this was supposed to go. Um, Kind of being vulnerable here as well. But what he doesn't know is behind that statue is Jinx, and she's listening in because he does voice a little bit of doubt about what a daughter does to a person in Zon. Like for what a person in Zon needs to do to survive, it's more of a hindrance, and that kind of comes across to a Jinx who is at the most unstable state.
Yeah, and it really shows her instability because they have it written out to have like a little bit of ambiguity in how he's talking. Like the dialogue itself has some ambiguity as to what Silco's deciding, but his tone never carries a sign of giving up Jinx.
Yeah.
Like the words have ambiguity, but I never once in that scene got the vibe that he was going to sell out Jinx. Because it's like the damages of a daughter is like, because he's got everything he ever wanted on a plate, and all he has to do is give up Jinx. And his tone says that he's going to keep Jinx, but she's so unstable that she's not picking up on it.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool bit as far as for me, because you have crazy can't be reasoned with, even if you have like these social cues and everything. Crazy doesn't pick up on it anymore because it doesn't live in that same world. But as far as trying to break down the crazy, while I was trying to really put myself in Jinx's shoes, we hop over to the last drop, and boy, do they not mince words when we get to the last drop. Because
I didn't expect a rematch here.
I was not expecting a rematch. Like, not even in the slightest.
We get the Vi and Savika rematch. Both have they've maxed out their weapons, so they gone to base, they've bought, and now they're back in lane.
6 slotted, baby.
Yeah, this is just pure Sakuga here. Go watch the scene. The choreography is just insane in this show. From top to bottom, like I can only imagine how much mocapping they had to do. But they did very well with like rotoscoping and all that stuff. So props to them for this being like the last big fight scene. And we even get like a little boxing movie pep talk here where Vi's in a knocked out state. She goes inside her head, and Vander's sitting her like in her corner kind of thing, giving her a
that
pep
was
talk.
When I started crying. I was already choked up. Oh yeah, I was already choked up as far as like with Silco waxing poetically with Vander's statue, because we already knew that Silco wanted Vander to be on his side, and then it was this boxing. Such a stereotypical boxing movie.
It works every time.
Like, you got to get up, Rocky. And but like it was already that like Silco is reaching out to Vander, and then we see that Vi's also reaching out to Vander.
Yeah.
So it's like this dysfunctional family is just trying to find each other.
Dude,
and it was just like, oh god, it was difficult.
Yeah, and we get Vi winning this fight. Right, she ends up winning it, not in a decisive fashion. She's kind of beat up from all of it, and then we get the surprise of as she gets back to the bar, crawls up. We get another shot of Jinx in the background, and she's like, "Good job, sis," and then pistol whips her.
Yep.
And this takes us to one last thing before we get to the juiciness, which is the final council meeting, where Jace finally nuts up. He makes a decision for himself. And he finally shows independence of thought and action and says, here's what I want to do. Here's what we need to do. I don't care what you guys think. Vote yay or nay. And that was a huge for him. I think obviously that's his climax, right, as a character.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, but it's also like a little bit too late.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like I won't say that we already know that there's not going to be a
I mean, it's
decision
day
because
4,
we're
right?
not
So
at
like,
the ending, but it's like it was too late because the first action he took as far as nutting up was a complete act of vigilante justice.
yeah,
So it's like, if he had just done this before the vigilante justice, maybe the council would listen more.
the
Um,
Batman. It's
but
the Bat.
it's the bat. But at least he goes in there with the tone of like, look, I know my seat in the council is numbered. My days
Yeah.
are numbered here. But so with my last dying breath, I curse Zoidberg. And yeah, so it's like, so my last act is going to be getting Zon its freedom. And so then he puts it to a yay or nay vote. And before anyone can vote, Vi wakes up tied to a chair in the ruins of her childhood home
Yeah.
with a
And
psychotic Jinx in the shadows.
let's set the scene up because there's a lot of references here. The biggest one being Alice in Wonderland Tea Party, which is a common one because it's one of those scenes that already has an eeriness to it, and it just starts to build into a crazy tea party, right? And this one is just represented as a dinner. One end sits Vi, one end sits Silco. Silco's mouth is gagged, Vi is able to talk. There's a bunch of other things at the seat, which is something we've mentioned in the past, which are the dolls she made for the friend she lost.
So we
this is how
got
we're
Milo.
starting. Yeah,
we got Milo and Clagger at the table. Only way it could be crazier is if it was their actual corpses.
That would listen, thank you, Riot, for showing some restraint because that would have been twisted.
Twisted. One of the seats is Vi's childhood doll that she showed Powder
Yeah.
in the first episode. As far as like, look, we all screw up. You don't let the screw ups define you. And so they're like, Vi is just trying to process this absolute like Mad Hatter setting, and then it's like, oh, I visited your girlfriend, and
We got it. They said it. They said it out loud.
They said it.
All right,
Yeah.
Twitter, do your thing.
Do your thing.
But you mentioned her processing it, and this is one of those things where she's finally seeing the full extent of Jinx's insanity manifesting. Because remember, she's been away for a long time because she was in prison, and she's seen Jinx as she's interacted with her here and there outside of her own dwelling. But to be inside of it and to look around and see the craziness that she's living within. So it's not even within herself, it's her surroundings at all times. Is this insanity? Yeah, Vi is panicking.
Yeah. And so then it's I visited your girlfriend. We get the nice, bring in the dish and it's covered and what's in the box?
What's in the box? Another reference there. Yeah.
So a nice little freak out as far as like, oh God, what did you do to Caitlin? And then it's the Hexite Jim
As
on a cupcake.
On top of a cupcake. And that kind of gives us not our first scene, but a good scene into, okay, this is the crazy Jinx, but we're in Joker mode, right? She's going to do these things where it's more over the top, but she still has some sense of, wherewithal.
Yeah. And it's great because she reveals the cupcake and then it goes, what are you freaking out for? I'm not that crazy. And she wheels in Caitlin. So Caitlin's also trapped, bound and gagged. And so now with this table set up, Jinx is like, okay, so here are your options. Where do I sit? Yeah. And there are 2 seats. One is named Powder. One is labeled Jinx. And it's like, all right, so you decide where I sit. It's up to you. And she hands Vi the pistol and it's like, kill Caitlin so that I can take my seat as Powder.
Oh my God, dude. Listen, I'll say this. From the beginning, everyone knows the Joker influence. When Jinx came out, we all knew. But for them to be able to put this scene together and it not feel cheesy, to make it feel authentic, because this is a Joker scene. Just straight up. But they do it so well and they've worked up to it that it has that same impact of like, holy shit, what a decision, because there's so many different things at play here, right?
Yeah, like it's not disingenuous to say that it's a Joker scene, but it's done well enough to where it's not disingenuous to say it's a Jinx scene.
Yes.
Like it feels very
It's a good way to put it.
natural for her character. They did great with this. And also, if this is how you treat your siblings when they start dating, screw you. This is not a healthy sibling relationship.
Oh, you think? Okay. I didn't realize until episode 9.
It took me a while to get there, but I don't think this is right.
So obviously, yeah, Vi's trying to talk her down, saying there has to be a different way. And she's like, no, this is how it's going to be. Caitlin, obviously ever so present in situations like this, because she's good at it, sees like a broken piece of glass sitting near her. And then Jinx is kind of on like a little rant, and she places the pistol near Silco. Now, it's one of those moments where I'm like, okay, I think Jinx is fully aware of all this going on, but because of the chaos that she now embodies, she's letting it happen, right? Because none of this is by accident. She is kind of having a panic attack in this moment, as well as the back and forth starts happening, because she takes off Silco's mask or his gag and lets him talk as well. So it's becoming overwhelming for her.
Yeah, because as far as in this, like she's still very much in control, and even with her panic attack, she still acts like she's in control. But when she's taking off Silco's gag, her whole perception up to this is that Silco's there because he betrayed her.
Yeah.
He was going to sell her out to the Pilties to make peace. And then as soon as the gag comes off, it's like, no, I already told you. It's you and me against the world, baby.
Let it all burn.
Bonnie and Clyde, we're in this together. And so it's like, no, we're gonna burn this whole world to the ground, because that's who we are, and I'm never gonna turn my back on you. And that's really what kind of unsettles her in this moment.
Yeah.
So then this combined with Caitlin cutting herself free, grabbing Jinx's Gatling gun, trying to get her to disarm herself, and
stop resisting.
I like this because Jinx is able to regain control of the weapons with the use of the shimmer. So we get to see a lot of those quick movements. But so now we know that like Jinx has the shimmer, which is helping with her breakdown of psyche, but it also explains her passive in League of Legends, which is super cool, because it's like she gets a kill, an assist, or breaks a tower, she gets a super speed, and we get to see that here. So I was like, I immediately wrote down, I'm like, oh cool, her passive. And she gets control of the room again, but then like she's got the Gatling gun, she's about to blow Caitlin to Kingdom Come. And Vi is like, no, stop it. We can just leave.
Yeah.
You and me, Powder, we'll go anywhere. We'll just get out of here. And so then we have this conflicting bit of Kate, like she wants to kill Caitlin.
Yeah.
Vi wants to take her away so she can be Powder again. Silco is like, her name is Jinx.
Yeah.
And it's you and me against the world. So do it. Kill her so that we can burn this world to the ground. And we see the breakdown of Psyche. And I like her style here, which is when you don't know what to do and you have a fully automatic weapon, you spray and you pray. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And so Caitlin gets her to put the gun down. Silco goes, because remember, Silco does have rage issues. And I like that that's consistent, where everyone else is handling this differently, but Silco doesn't have that type of tolerance. So he's like, fuck it, goes for the gun. Obviously he points it. We're not shown who he points it at. Pretty sure he points it at Vi, which makes Jinx turn around and say, no, spray him. And then everything comes to a halt, right? Because as it stands now, she has killed 2 of her fathers. Which, listen, this show has you may think there's only so much trauma that one person can endure, but they are like, we're going to put so much on this plate that you will lose hope of redemption, because like we said in last episode, we knew that was it. Once she got injected and treated by Dr. Singed,
it was
like, it's gone. there's no hope
Point of
here.
no return.
And they're like, just to make sure, we're going to put a metaphorical cherry on top here. And and it stops the scene. And at that point, we get Jinx making the decision for everyone, where she kicks the chair with Jinx open, sits in it, mob boss style. And she was like, I give up. She's like, I tried to not be a Jinx type thing. I tried my hardest, but I guess I'm just destined to be this. So cool.
This is who I am now.
Yeah.
And the best way to go ahead, like, you know, finding out who you are is a difficult journey that we all go on. And there is nothing just so relieving as like finding that true answer for yourself. So there's only one way to celebrate for Jinx in this scenario, which is she grabs the hex gem out of the cupcake, and we finally get to see the weapon that she's been working on.
Yeah.
I kind of thought about it. I was too chicken to call it out and to say that it was going to be this, because I thought it would be something bigger, and I'm sad I didn't. But we were missing one of Jinx's weapons.
Yeah, it's crazy we missed this.
I was thinking it because she was talking to him in one of the crazy rants, and I'm like, oh, we still haven't seen Fishbones.
Yeah.
Well, we get to see Fishbones now, and now we got an answer as to, you know, how Jinx becomes a tyrannical threat for all of Piltover and Zaun, which is the two greatest technologies that we have seen in these shows: the greatest technology of Zaun and the greatest technology of Piltover. And Shimmer and Hextech are combined in one character now, and Fishbones is completed, so we got to take a test shot. We got to make sure it's working as intended. And that begins the most epic ending to a show that I've seen in a hot minute, which is just this emotional release of just like, this is me and firing the shot. And like, it gives this vibe of like, there's a bit of hesitation where she knows for herself that it's like, okay, I can't even pretend that powder exists anymore after this. You can feel that hesitation, but then she pulls the trigger and we fire off a rocket. Where does she fire that rocket, Ryan?
Into the council meeting where they just decided to give Zaun their sovereignty. Oh, and they're happy about it until Mel turns around and is like, oh, fuck, we get the bomb hitting the window. And that's it. That's the cut.
Roll credits.
Listen.
Oh my God.
I'll say it here. And like I said, we'll have other episodes where we go deeper into like just our feelings and how this is handled, the aftermath, people's responses. But I'll say it here. It counts as a video game adaptation. And this is the greatest one to date. I don't feel ridiculous saying that. I think this is some of the greatest animated television to date, animated anything to date. Wow. From beginning to end. Insane.
I mean, it's 100% the greatest video game adaptation. I don't think anyone can even come close to arguing that.
Yeah.
And this is the first video game adaptation where I can comfortably just, I can't think of a single person that I wouldn't be able to recommend this to. I'm gonna tell my mom to watch this.
Yep.
Like,
I already told my family.
and I could imagine that she's going to enjoy it. Like, that's the craziest part.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a thing of you know, like, oh, you might like it, or at least we can talk about it because I'm excited for it. No, it's wonderful.
Remember,
I have some grievances over the animations, but you know, that's a personal preference thing, and I know that.
Yeah, we'll go deep into that.
It's done great.
Episode. But it's like you made a good point, because ever since this has started, like Arcane Act 1, 2, 3, when I've gone outside and I've talked to people, listen, remember, League of Legends is one of the biggest games in the world, right, in history. And I've never had people talk to me so much about League of Legends until Arcane came out. Like, just general conversations with people who don't play games. Like, have you heard this Arcane thing? And it's very impressive. But like I said, we'll have that episode. But what I want to say to kind of wrap this up is thanks for joining us with this for this. I'm gonna try not to cry. We've cried enough. But Hetch and I talked about this. Arcane, we never thought it was a real thing. We never thought it would come to fruition. We never thought it would come out. But we definitely never thought we would have a podcast where we talked about this stuff for hundreds of hours. And we never thought people would listen to it and comment and put input. And that is beyond, like, the show's beyond expectations. This is even further. So thanks. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah.
Hetch.
We've talked about it before. We're huge nerds.
If you haven't figured that out by now.
and I enjoy doing this show with you. I think I can speak for both of us where we would probably be doing this anyways, just because we're having fun with it. But the fact that you guys are taking the time to join us means the absolute world to us. And I thank you so much. And not only thank you for being here with us, but I can't wait to hear from you. Like, this is clearly only the beginning as far as Arcane is concerned. So we talk about it in housekeeping, podcastcore@gmail.com, Twitter and Facebook. These are social media stuff. You know it. Hit us up, because I'm going to be talking about this for a long time. And now I just need ears. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. And with that, as always, thank you, thank you, thank you for listening. And we'll be back soon with the next episode.
But it won't be Noxus. Take care, everybody.